This week saw the saga of Titan, the deep-sea submersible. I have seen a number of reactions to the disaster online. There are those with contempt for people who spend $250,000 to visit the Titanic. That money could be better spent elsewhere, they say. There are those scornful of a company that rejected old white men in favor of young women as their engineering team. There are those unsympathetic to a man who tried to make a submersible using off-the-shelf parts and with very little testing. I think that history could well look kindly on Titan and her crew. First off, I reject the idea that the money could have been better spent elsewhere. Where is better? The poor? The homeless? You could throw money at those problems forever, and there will still be poor and homeless people. Alternatively, you can throw money at a cathedral, a Renaissance masterpiece, an ocean liner, a palace, once, and then you get to keep it, to show the world and the future what we can do with our brilliance. Titan was to be such brilliance. The problem with Titan was that it did not, ATFQ, answer the question. The question was not, how can we get more people down to the Titanic at once? The cylindrical, rather than spherical shape answered that. The question was not, how do we secure the future of the submersible industry? That was answered with a focus on engineers in their 20s, rather than white guys in their 50s. Those old guys will all retire in 20 years, so somebody still needs to be around. The question was not, how do we improve the manufacturing process? This was answered with the carbon fiber hull and off-the-shelf components, a possibly cheap and efficient way to do it. The question was, can Titan go to the Titanic and back again? We got our answer, and it cost us 5 men. I do not know if Titan ever went to the Titanic. There was a test dive, but I do not think that it went past 3,000 meters. There was a computer model, but did it assume manufacturing defects, fatigue, or other considerations? There was never a destructive test as far as I know, only destruction for real. The question was not answered early, so it was answered too late. Too late for the crew, but not for us. Titan's demise has probably saved years of research and millions of dollars. Now we know what the crush depth of a carbon fiber submersible is. Great engineering breakthroughs owe themselves to men like Stockton Rush. These men learn the hard lessons and pay the price so that we don't have to. In 1908, 1 pilot died per 1,000 miles of flight. By 1913, it was 1 per 100,000. That would be unacceptable today. We would have airliners falling out of the sky weekly, but they don't. We benefit from the lessons learned in the early days. In motorsport in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, drivers died regularly, now hardly ever. Hundreds of men died per year in the early days of iron-hulled ships, now far fewer. All advances come at a price, sometimes the ultimate price. Medicine, mountaineering, sailing. Even Titanic's sacrifice provided lessons to the world of shipping. Titan paid the price this week. It was not fair for the passengers to have to pay the price too. Personally, I do not like the idea of visiting the Titanic as a tourist. It is, after all, a grave. Chief Engineer Bell and his men are still inside, plus however many others were dragged under. But if that is the only way to fund deep-sea submersibles, by bringing them to see famous wrecks, then it is a necessary evil until the price comes down. I believe that there is something about the deep sea. I think that some of the commentary misses it when they complain about all this effort to save 5 people, when hundreds die in the Mediterranean. It was not really about saving 5 people. It was about man's glory over nature. We touch the stars with our astronauts and satellites. We walk on the moon. We soar above the clouds in our flying machines. We walk upon the land, the highest peaks, the Arctic and Antarctic poles, the dense jungle, the baking desert. We rule the sea surface with our Leviathan ships, and now we claim the murky depths too. Neptune thought that he could take our surface ships, take them down thousands of meters where we could not get at them, but now we can. We can see the Titanic. We decide how deep we go. We are Neptune now. And when Neptune tries to take our submersible, intruding upon his realm, then by God we'll rescue it, even if it takes 100 ships and planes and robots. That is what we saw play out this week: man's engineering genius and ambition versus nature's overwhelming power. Nature won this time, but we'll be back, and back sooner and stronger than ever, because we will learn from Titan's failure.